I find it really hilarious that there's always people like, I don't believe in astrology. Astrology is not real and all that other crap. You've never even had your astrology chart read. You still reading your sun sign horoscope. Please, please save me. Hi, I'm Aycee Brown. I am your psychic channel, medium, spiritual guide, and teacher, and voice of truth. And I want to welcome you back to my channel. Today, we are talking about using astrology as a tool for self-discovery and understanding your cosmic blueprint. Now, if you've ever looked at your astrology chart and was like, this don't make no sense. I don't know what this is. This is not real. It's because you were probably reading your sun sign. There's nothing wrong with that. But let's just keep it real. Astrology isn't some fluffy, feel-good fortune cookie. It's unapologetic and it is a tool for self-awareness. It's a map of your patterns. It's a map of your challenges. It's a map of the power that you've barely began to step into. And we're going to talk about that today. So we're not going to talk about some surface level horoscopes. We're going to talk about some raw, unfiltered things in your birth chart that you should be looking for. Now, what I want you to think about as you are listening and watching this, your chart isn't some mystical sentence handed down by the stars. It is a snapshot of the universe at the exact moment you came out of your mother's womb. Yes, right when you came out of your mother's womb, the stars aligned and they created your natal chart. And it is a reflection of the energetic conditions shaping your instincts, your desires, and your struggles. It doesn't necessarily predict the future, but it reveals patterns that you're living every day. And when people say, oh, astrology can predict the future, it can predict the circumstances that are familiar or that have happened before. History repeats itself, and astrology can tell you where it's going to repeat itself at. So let's dive into the foundations of understanding your natal chart. So let's talk about the fundamental building blocks that create your blueprint. So, which are the elements? Just as nature expresses itself through fire, earth, air, and water, your chart shows these elemental energies as well, and they play out in your personality. So first we have fire, which is Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. This represents inspiration, action, and spirit. The fire elements usually show you how to express your passion and your creativity. It reveals where you naturally take initiative. Then we have Earth, which is Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. This represents practicality, stability, and form. It shows you how to create security and structure, and it reveals where you are most grounded in your being and in your body. And then we have air. Air is Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. This represents thought, communication, and connection. It shows you how you process and share information, and it reveals where you seek understanding. But to seek understanding, you have to listen. So hopefully you're listening. And then lastly, we have water, which is Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. I'm a Pisces, ew. And that represents emotion, intuition, and feeling. And it shows you how you process your emotions and connect to them on a deeper level. And it also reveals where you're most sensitive and receptive. Then we have the modalities. The modalities, this is how you typically approach life. We have cardinal signs, fixed signs, and mutable signs. So the cardinal signs fit into Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. They initiate action, start new cycles, and lead with vision. Then we have fixed signs, which are Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. They maintain and stabilize things. They build lasting structures, and they provide consistency. And then lastly, we have the mutable signs, which are the best because I have a lot of mutable placements. I have a lot of air. I have a lot of air and mutable placements in my chart, and a couple of fixed signs. So I have two major placements that are fixed signs, but that's for another conversation. Then we have the mutable signs, like I said, Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. So these mutable signs adapt and they change, they bridge transformation, and they also facilitate transformation. Now we'll move into the personal planets. I want to explore the inner planets that shape your core personality. So we have the sun, moon, Mercury, Venus, and Mars. Now, there are many other planets that we can talk about, but I want to talk about some of the basics. So we have your sun, which I like to say is the basic B of your personality. And when you hear people say you're more than just your sun sign, this is what they mean. And they say this because your sun sign is the basic B version of you. It is once you let people get into who you are. It's the core of who you are at your most basic self. So it's how you express your individuality, where you shine most naturally, and your path towards self-actualization. Then you have your moon sign. Your moon is the emotional nature, and that reveals how you process emotions, what makes you feel secure, what is your instinctive reactions to things, and your emotional needs and patterns. The moon sign can tell you so much about someone because everything in this life is emotional, whether you like to hear it or not. It is. Then you have Mercury. Your Mercury is your mental process. It shows you how you think, how you learn, your communication style, how you process information, and your intellectual interests. Then you have Venus, and Venus is your values and your relations to your values. So it's what you value and desire, how you express affection, your aesthetic preferences, and your approach to relationships. Then you have Mars, which is your drive and your action. So Mars is how you assert yourself in situations. It's also what motivates you. And it also is your energy expression, and it also is how you pursue goals. If you want me to do a video on your Mars signs and how they pursue goals, lose weight, get disciplined, let me know down below and I will do that. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is your ascendant, which is your rising sign. That's what you should be using when you are doing your horoscopes or you're reading your horoscope. So this is the formula that you're going to use. If you were born at night, which is when the moon was present, and you can see that during the time of your birth, you're going to read your rising sign, then your moon sign, then your sun sign for horoscopes. If you were born in the day, you are going to read your rising sign, your sun sign, and then your moon sign last. Now, I just want to give a little bit of a disclaimer. I want you to think about your rising sign as a walking embodiment of your soul in this lifetime. Your soul chose your rising sign to move through life in this particular way. So, whether you are an Aries rising, a Taurus rising, a Gemini rising, that is the vehicle that your soul chose for you to travel in this lifetime. It said, with all the trials, tribulations, the joys, the happiness, the relationships, anything that you are going to experience in this lifetime, your soul said, okay, we need to do it in this vehicle with this rising sign. So that's why your rising sign is very, very important. So next, we are going to talk about houses. And this is probably my favorite thing because houses can be life stages. They are can be so many things that go on in your life and everywhere in the astrology chart. So your birth chart is divided into 12 houses, each representing a different life area. So first you have the personal houses, which are 1 through 4, the relational houses, which are 5 through 8, and then the collective houses, which are 9 through 12. So the first house is your identity and your appearance, also where your rising sign is. You can figure out, I know I can, I'm not as good, but you can figure out what people's rising signs are based off of their physical appearance. So I'm a Sagittarius rising. Even though I am short, I have very long legs, or like the Sagittarius is a centaur. I'm also a Pisces, and all Pisces suns, we have fish faces. My face looks like a fish, and that's okay. It's a cute fish. Ew. Okay. Then you have your second house. Your second house is values and your resources. And it's your values, your resources, your material possessions, your money. It is how you attach and how your self-worth is to money, to material things, what you value. Then you have your third house. Your third house is how you communicate and how you learn. In relationships, which I will talk about this in another video, you always want to look at someone's third house as, and especially their Mercury sign, and to see if that's going to be complementary to yours, because how you communicate and how you learn, especially in relationships, whether that's platonic or romantic or professional, it's really important for you to communicate effectively. Then you have your fourth house. The fourth house is home, foundations, ancestors, your mother. It's the past, it's your internal worlds, it's a lot of things. I'll do a fourth house video if you want me to, because there's a lot to say there. And then you have your fifth house, which is part of the relational houses. The fifth house is the house of pleasure, of children, of creativity, of fun, of excitement, of passion. I love the fifth house. Then you have the sixth house. The sixth house, the sixth house is work, health, and routines. So if you are trying to figure out what you need to do to be devoted and dedicated to projects, to people, to things, look at your sixth house. Then you have the seventh house. Now, the seventh house often gets labeled just for marriage, which is a part of that. But the seventh house is for partnership. So any type of partnership, whether that's business partnerships, whether that's romantic partnerships, whether that is platonic partnerships, contracts, anything where you are doing something together with someone, that is the seventh house. Then you have the eighth house. The eighth house, I like to say, and many people do, death, sex, and transformation. It's other people's money, it's taxes, it's sex, it's the bottom of the ocean. That is the eighth house. Then you have the collective houses. Now, the ninth house is higher learning and beliefs and what you believe and travel and philosophy and all of that. Then you have the 10th house. The 10th house is career and public image, or that's where Big Daddy Saturn lives. It's ruled by Saturn, but even though it depends on where your rising sign is, but it's still ruled by Saturn. That's where Big Daddy Saturn lives. That's where, you get that oomph in your career, in your work life, in your public image. It also has things to do with your father as well, which is interesting because my 10th house is ruled by Virgo and my father is a Virgo rising. Another story for a different day. Then you have your 11th house. The 11th house is hopes, dreams, wishes, community. It is your social circle. It's all of those things. Then last but not least, you have your 12th house. And your 12th house is spirituality and the unconscious. It is your mind. How does your mind work? What is your mind saying? What is your mind doing? That is what the 12th house is. So let's explore how to use this information for self-understanding. So let's talk about chart reading basics. So you're going to start with, like I said, your sun, moon, and rising signs. You read it the way I said to read it. I'll reiterate, if you were born at night, meaning the sun wasn't present, the moon was, you're going to read your rising sign first, your moon sign, and then your sun sign. If you were born during the day, if you have a day chart, you're going to read your rising sign first, your sun sign, and then your moon sign for horoscopes to get a better picture of what's going on. Then you're going to look at the elements most present in your chart. So that is going to be in your rising sign. You're going to look at what planet your rising sign is ruled by. And then you are going to find out where that planet is in your chart. That's going to help you out. Then you are going to look at the houses on where your personal planets fall. That is going to tell you a big story about what you're going to experience in life, especially on a day-to-day basis. I want you to also think about patterns when you're looking at your chart. Do you have a cluster in certain areas? Do you have planets in all the houses? Are your personal planets all in one particular house. I want you to look at that. I want you to look at any concentrated areas of your chart. I want you to look at empty houses and their opposing signs. Then I want you to use your chart to create some type of personal growth strategy. Understand your chart's elements so you can understand your strengths, identify any growth areas, create aligned goals, align action, and work within the cycles. Transits, but that is another topic for another day. Now, when you're working your chart, some daily practices for chart integration, I like to say, check where the moon is at all times. What sign is the moon? And then look at your chart and see where there's transiting, because that's going to tell you possibly how you will feel. Now, some people don't believe this, but the moon dictates our emotions. Even the Farmer's Almanac follows the moon phases because it dictates how their plants and crops grow. Okay, so if they're doing it for food, then you need to do it for your body, because we are filled up with water and the moon is making all of that move. Then you need to notice any transit planets in those houses. That would be something where you would reach out to me, to someone who is an astrologer, human design person, where I can show you what transits are happening and what that means for you during this time. And then I would say for your decision-making skills, consider what your natural tendencies are. Some people I know, I'll give you an example. I make decisions, or I see life with my ascendant, with my rising sign. So a lot of things that I think about are in my rising sign's nature. I respond or reflect with my moon sign and other elements as well. I make decisions with I have a huge stellium in my chart. I have actually 2 stelliums in my chart, but I make decisions with air because that's in a particular house that affects me more. And then my sun sign is really like the chill place. It's really the most natural core of my being. I don't necessarily make decisions from my sun sign. I probably just live life from my sun sign. So when you're thinking about your chart and looking at your chart, don't focus too much on what you don't have, like empty houses, or if you find out certain planets don't do well there. Focus on what you do have and focus on where you can shine, or the things that you can tap into in your chart. Because some things, maybe you have challenging aspects. Sometimes you'll have difficult placements and you don't want to let that stop you. So remember, your chart isn't about a fixed destiny. It's a map of potentials. It's like any map. It gives you different directions, different patterns, different ways to go, different destinations. It doesn't necessarily determine your path, but it gives you the energy for you to figure out what is the best path for you and how to get there in the most effective and efficient way possible. So when you understand your chart, it's like learning a new language. It helps you express yourself. It helps you be more clear and navigate your life in more of a greater awareness. And it also makes you feel, I'm not gonna lie, it gives me hope. Because certain transits, I know I'm gonna be all right. I'm gonna be okay. Certain perfection years, which that, if you want me to talk about perfection years, I could do a whole video on that. I'm gonna be okay. I'm in a season where I'm gonna be okay. Okay. So, perfection years, there's tons of things. So share in the comments your sun, moon, and rising sign, any astrology questions that you want to know, and I will get back to you and we can talk about it and dive deep in it. Make sure when you say astrology doesn't work, make sure that you looked into your astrological chart and you've actually read it or had somebody read it for you and explain what's there before you jump to any conclusions. Okay?